5 reasons why you should not teach religion to your children. I'm going to take so much hate for this. This is going to be another response video to the Atheist Voice. It's going to be a 2-parter. So this video is going to cover the first 2 reasons. The next video, that if you're watching this, several days down the line, there will be a card right here to see part 2. But that will cover the remaining 3 points. Without further ado, let us go right in.
Here's why. Religion often teaches children to do the right things for the wrong reasons. If you want to teach your kids to act a certain way, that they should tell the truth, for example, many parents teach their kids that God doesn't want them to do it because it's a sin. If you lie, God will get upset or angry. God hates sinners. God killed Jesus because people were sinners. You got blood on your hands, kid. How awful is that? To tell a kid who probably just doesn't know any better that he's guilty of a crime that puts someone to death. That's silly anyway. I mean, you shouldn't lie because society wouldn't function if everyone lied to one another. You want people to be honest with you? Then you have to be honest with them. That's how it works. That's why you shouldn't lie. And what about when they're older? That same sort of mentality stays in effect. I mean, it's a good thing to teach children to value their own bodies. But religion often does that by saying masturbation is evil, or that if you do any sort of sexual activity before marriage, you're making the baby Jesus cry. This is the awful power that religion has. It teaches kids morals and values, but often they do it through guilt and fear and shame. Why would you do that to them? I don't want my kids to behave a certain way just because they always worry that God is looking over their shoulder. As a former math teacher, teaching kids to apply religious thinking to ethical situations is kind of like handing students a cheat sheet, a formula sheet, right before a test. Yeah, they might get some answers right, but they really don't have any understanding of how to apply these formulas in different situations. You're better off teaching them how the formulas came about and how they can be applied in various situations, and how they don't always work in every case. There's some nuance to ethics and morals, and there's a discussion to be had with certain beliefs people have. And you're not going to get that with a black and white religious sort of thinking.
All right, now, as usual, I do have to be honest. I agree with him on several things. I don't think guilt and shame is how we should be driving children to behave ethically, to have values, to display good morals. But at the same time, you run into this age-old issue within atheism of, well, why do you do good things? What is good? What is bad? Who decides that? Is it cultural? Then it's ever shifting. It's always changing. How do you display that how do you teach that to kids in a consistent manner if morality is contingent upon the culture, the current cultural climate? You can't. It will always be shifting and changing and altering with the society as the society shifts and grows within its own ecosystem. But we can at least agree on the fact that no, guilt and shame and making a kid feel poorly as if they need to act this way, otherwise God is going to be disappointed in them. I don't think that works in terms of a religious front, and I also don't think it's very good in terms of just a normal, parenting front. I don't teach my daughter what is good, what is wrong, what is right, what is evil by guilt. I think that's a very poor way of going about that. But I also don't know how you would justify morality in any way. I've spoken about it a bunch of times on here. If you do not have an objective sort of morality. To teach a kid, okay, don't do this because it's wrong. The kid asks, why is it wrong? Well, because we say so. You do the same thing as an atheist. If you don't have something objective to put it to, well, because it's the law. Okay, why is it the law? Because it's wrong. Why is it wrong? Because it's against the law. And you just keep going in a circle and a circle and a circle because you don't have anything objective to put that morality or that rightness or that wrongness on. You just keep going around and around and around because we said so. So I don't find it fair to say religious people are the only ones who do this. Everybody does this. The thing is, religious people put it on something that is objective, that being God, and atheists put it on things that are subjective, which is culture and society. And the problem with that, in my opinion, is that, like I said, that is always shifting and changing. Going into the second point of why you should not raise your children with religious values.
Thinking. Religion often teaches children to suppress their doubts and questions. How often are children told to just have faith when they ask difficult questions? How do we know God exists? How do we know the Bible is true? Well, we just do. But as they grow up, they realize we have different methods of discovering the truth. But as they grow up, they realize we have different methods for discovering the truth. Observation, experimentation, reason, logic. Those methods apply to every aspect of your life, except religion. Religion plays by its own rules. Which makes sense, I guess, because if you apply reason and logic to religion, it's going to crumble. Now, I should say, not all religions teach kids to suppress their doubts and questions. Of course, I know that. Some of them welcome questions. I mean, Christian apologists want to arm you with responses so that when you ask these questions, you're satisfied with an answer. But most parents aren't equipped to offer any answers beyond "because I said so" when it comes to questions about religion or having doubts about it. And if that's the case, your kids are better off without religion.
As usual, I agree with him to a point, and I disagree with him to another point. Now, I agree in that I don't believe most Christian parents are equipping their children properly to A, be able to practice good apologetics, to have good arguments or good defenses for their faith. But B, I think they kind of teach their kids about the religion as if it's just a fact and it's not something that they believe, as if it's not something that really is very fundamentally built on faith. Because that's the reality. No, we don't have proof. No. Otherwise, most people, still everybody wouldn't, but most people would probably be Christian to some degree, right? We don't have the proof. So we have to be honest. And the way I approach it with my daughter personally, her being 6 years old, is I teach her what I personally believe, and then I teach her what our church believes, and those two things already differ. And then I teach her kind of what I do here on YouTube and Instagram and stuff. She's seen some of it. She's heard me talk. She sits in the other room sometimes while I do this, depending on the content. But I make sure she is well equipped that so when she goes to middle school, when she goes to high school, and she's having more intellectual conversations with people, one, she can practice some kind of apologetics. Two, that she can be honest and tell people, I don't know. And if they give her crap, her be okay with that. Her be comfortable with not knowing. Her being comfortable with not pretending with arrogance that she has all the answers and everybody who doesn't agree with her view, her beliefs, is ignorant, because that makes you ignorant. If you are the person who cannot understand and sympathize with the fact that your opinions on things, your beliefs on things are not law, are not 100% accurate and true and holy, then you are the ignorant one. So I agree with him in that regard, that I don't think Christian parents do a good job of preparing their children to go out into the world and in any way defend their faith and have intelligent conversations about it. I talk to my kid, and again, she's only 6, so it's very limited, but I talk to her about being open to different views. I talk to her about the fact that within what we believe, Christianity, there is mass discontent. There are massive arguments between people who believe fundamentally the same thing. I want her that by the time she's 10, 12, 15, to know that Christianity is a broken system, but that the fundamentals of it are good, that it teaches mostly good things, things that if you live your life based on these tenets and these ideas and these doctrines, then you will, in general, be doing the world a good service. If you do what Jesus spoke about, if you follow the teaching that he did, if you follow his ministry in practice, then in general, you are going to be a positive individual within society. And so that is what I teach her. And I want her to be able to go out into the world and talk about that and do that and to be able to defend that. Maybe she won't be able to defend the theology. I can't defend the theology because there are holes and gaps and contradictions. There just are. But I can defend the fact that the Bible teaches this, this, and this principle. And I want anybody to try to tell me that those principles make me a bad person. Those principles make me a detriment to society in some way. I don't believe you can, but I teach her to doubt what she's told. I teach her to question everything, question the government, question your teacher, question me when I say stuff, and she does. In a way, I do agree that if you're a Christian parent and you are raising kids to be ignorant Christian children, they will grow into ignorant Christian adults. And in my personal opinion, and I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, you are a problem within Christianity if you are one of the ignorant Christians. because you give us a bad name. You give us a bad image in the public sphere. You make us look stupid. And it doesn't help the general picture of Christianity. If we're trying to spread Christianity in an age of skepticism, in an age of atheism and Satanism, even self-worship, Christians need to be well equipped. So you as a parent need to equip your children properly. I'm going to take so much hate for this. Anyways, that's the long and the short of it. Like I said, if you're watching this days after, there will be a card up above my head to part 2. If you're watching this right now in the moment as I'm posting it, then you're kind of SOL. But I'll have the second part to this up in probably a couple days. If this kind of stuff is what you're looking for, if it interests you, or if you're mad at me, then subscribe, because I'll probably make you mad more in later videos. So it'd be good for you to be around. Leave a comment on what you guys think about what we talked about today. How do you feel about those things? I know I have kind of outskirt answers to these, and a lot of Christians disagree with me massively. So I'd be curious to hear both from the atheists, because I know you're there, and the Christians. Where do you guys land on this? What do you think of my answers? Give me some feedback. I love you guys. Have a beautiful night.